So since this is the biggest, most asked question right now, how do you tell your story and how do you be effective today without being pushy and salesy and awkward? Pete, I'll let you take it from here. Go ahead and hit it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. You can hear me just fine, right?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Hey, everybody. Pete Vargas here. I'm so excited to be here with all of you guys, tens of thousands of people from across the world. And my goal right now for all of you is to help you understand how to communicate. How you communicate today looks different than even how you communicated 3 weeks ago. And I want to give you that framework today, whether you're on social, whether you're on a podcast, whether you're on a phone call, whether you're on your team meetings. I want to give you a framework today that I believe is going to help you serve and help a lot of people who need your help today. And I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you to Eric and Marina for having me here today. I don't take it lightly, but thank you to the industry. I know you don't know me, but when I was 19 years old, 19 years old, I had to figure out how to pay for my college education. I was broke. I was walking around campus. I just had a really bad crisis happen in my life. And I had made it on college campus, but I didn't know how I was going to continue to sustain college campus. And I'm grateful because network marketing, multi-level marketing got me through college. It's the reason I got through college. I wouldn't have gotten through college without it. I believe it's one of the greatest industries that exists because it gives the average human being on this planet the opportunity to start a business without hundreds of thousands of dollars. But like Tony said in his interview there, for a few $100s. And so what I want to do today is I want to help you understand, and this is my give back to the industry, I want to help you understand how to communicate. What I'm about to teach you, it's the same thing that we showed Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins as we helped them build out their speaking team. It's the same thing that we shared with Grant Cardone and his team that made them license this content that I'm about to share with you. It's the same thing that we've shared with so many of the people that we work with, some of the biggest thought leaders on planet Earth, including Damon John, who was taking notes ferociously as we sat there and helped him understand how to communicate more powerfully. Those are all folks that we work with. And I'm excited to bring this to the tens of thousands of people today because I believe today, right now, is probably the greatest opportunity in the history of network marketing and multi-level marketing to be able to serve and help a lot of people. And right now, you all have the power in your hand to literally shift what's happening in our world today. You have the power in your hand to help people rise up in the midst of chaos and crisis and fear if you communicate well, if you communicate powerfully. And so what is the C, Pete? Okay, I'm not going to be cheesy. I got to figure this out. I'm not just going to cut to the chase. I'm not going to lead with cash, meaning leading with the financial opportunity. What do you need to do, Pete? Well, let me first give you a little bit of a context of the story, because if you get this story, which was another crisis time just in our nation, which was America, but I know we have people from all across the world, you will understand the C in a very powerful way that you have to use in your communication. You see, what you don't know about me is I had a terrible, terrible relationship with my dad. Awful. Abusive dad growing up to me. My grandmother took me away from him when I was in 6th grade because of the things he was doing to me physically, mentally, emotionally, every which way. My grandmother took me away from him and said, "You're never going back to live with your dad." Now you fast forward several years and I'm a youth pastor. I'm 23 years old. I'm bringing in these powerful speakers into my youth group. And one of those speakers that I decided to bring in, his daughter was the first girl killed at Columbine. Any of you remember that, 1999 Columbine? His daughter was the first girl killed at Columbine. And she died, and the month before she was killed, she wrote a paper called My Ethics, My Codes of Life. And she had 6 diaries. And in this paper and this ethics that she wrote for her 5th period English class, she said, I have this theory that if one person will go out of their way to show compassion, that it'll start a chain reaction of the same. People will never know how far a little kindness will go. Yeah, you might have caught into the sea that I'm going to talk about here for a little bit, but what I want you to know about her is she stood for that in her paper, and her 6 diaries were her life's journey of how she lined up and she actually lived that message out. And so this man comes into my community. He speaks. I'm 23 years old. My dad hasn't said anything to me really about what he had done to me in the last 10 years. He's in this building. He's actually present. He's live. He's watching. I'm thinking maybe this will move my dad to take action and apologize. And at the end of the presentation, after that man, and this is very, very important, everybody, after that man said, hey, parents in the room, you have no idea how long your kids are going to be here, or you're going to be on this earth with your kids. I want you to go tell your kids tonight how much you love them. And some of you need to go ask them for forgiveness for something that you've done to them. And literally that night, my dad went and wrote me a letter. He said, I'm sorry for the father I've been. Here my son is having an impact on hundreds of kids' lives, and I can't have an impact on my only son's life. I'm asking you for a second chance to do things right. And he told me he loved me for the first time in over a decade. My wife and I were weeping and we were crying as we read this letter. He took the man up on his challenge and actually went out and did something about it, took action, because the man led with compassion. And he shared his daughter's story of compassion. And now for the first time in my dad's life, after lots of people trying to recruit him to make things right with me, finally, the very first time somebody led with compassion, my dad heard it and he took action. If you want people to take action right now, you have to lead with compassion. You have to lead in this market with empathy. You cannot be driven by the cheesiness or the cut to the chase or the cash. You got to lead with compassion. That is what you got to do right now. And I want to share one more story about him. In 1999, our nation was scared. I don't know if Eric and Marina remember this, but we had a nation that was really scared because we had our first major school shooting. And I'm not comparing it to today, but I'm comparing what I'm about to say to today. Back then, everybody was talking and complaining and scared to death. Parents weren't sending their kids to school, and they were afraid. And everybody was pointing the finger and taking blame and blaming everybody else, and there was all this finger pointing. And this man chose not to finger point. He chose to make a decision to forgive the 2 boys who took his daughter's life. And he went and took this message out to compassion out into the world, which we helped him do. And literally, you fast forward several years and they became the biggest school program in schools across the world, taking this idea of compassion out to the world. Right now, the way that you've got to lead in recruiting more people into your business, because listen, they need in your business. Like, I hope that these next 6 months are the biggest 6 months in the history of this industry. Now, I also hope that the world shifts and changes, but I believe all of the seeds that you plant in the course of the next 6 or 9 months for the rest of this year, leading with compassion, will set you up to be so successful. So successful. Right now, you've got a pace with them before you lead them into your company. What is pace? You got to pace with empathy and compassion right now, because people want to hear that you understand how they're feeling. They want to understand and know that you know what it's like right now to walk in their shoes. And so I want to give you a couple of practical things that you can do before I wind this down and bring Eric back here in just a second. I want to give you a couple of things that you can do. And so we have this proprietary process called the Story Braid Framework. And I'm only going to talk about one piece of the framework, which is the heart. I'm not going to talk about the rest of the framework. I'm just going to talk about the opening heart. Like right now, if you can lock and center in on the hearts of humans and lead with compassion, be the one who communicates with compassion, and you win that heart, they will be in your business. They will be a distributor. They will be a customer, more likely a distributor in today's market, really. But you got to understand how to communicate. And so it starts by winning their heart. Let me give you a few practical things of how you communicate with compassion to lead and win over their heart. The first thing you have to do right now in this market is communicate in a way that helps people understand that you know what they're going through. Not about your business opportunity, not about your product. Like, man, the world is hurting. They're losing jobs. They're losing their finances. Like, you've got to make sure they understand that they can find themselves in you. Like, that you can connect with their heart immediately. Like, connect with their heart immediately by making sure you're actually real and transparent and compassionate and communicating in a way that helps them understand that you know what they're feeling. People don't care how much you know. They want to know that you care. Maya Angelou has an incredible quote that I love around that. They'll forget what you said. They'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And if you feel cheesy, if you feel cutting to the chase, and if you feel cash driven, they will pick up on that, and the wall and red flag will go up in their subconscious. You want to break that wall down? I'm giving you the power, and I'm trusting that you guys will do this in an authentic and sincere way. Is you've got to first connect with their heart by them understanding that you know what it's like to be walking in their shoes. Whether you're putting out content on social, you're recruiting people to come to some of your conference calls, like the messaging has to be that. The second thing you want to do with this heart, the second thing you want to do is now their guards are down a little bit because you've connected with them. People now are more open to having conversation, and they don't want to see that you're this extraordinary person driving this amazing car, living in this incredible house, debt-free, set for life, semi-retired. That's not the conversation that's going to happen now. They want to know that you're ordinary and that you've walked in their shoes before. And you've got to know what their shoes are right now. Listen to the market right now of where it's at. I'm asking people, how do you feel right now? Like, what is your biggest concerns? I'm asking our community that, and they're telling me. And as they tell you and you listen, those are the words that you've got to hear, because you've got to make sure that you relate that you are ordinary and that you've walked in their shoes before, that you've faced crisis before, that you've went through it before. And then, and only then, do they want to know that you're extraordinary and that you've gone somewhere that they want to go, but it was from some place of crisis or difficult times or hardship. It doesn't have to be a financial crisis. It could be a relational crisis. It could be a health crisis. It could be something that shifted it and turned it around. Once they know that you are ordinary, they then want to know that you've done something extraordinary, because that's ultimately where they want to be. But they don't want to be there until they know that you know what it's like to walk in their shoes today. Man, I hope you guys grasp that. I really hope that you get that, because that is an incredible piece. And so the second thing that you want to do in this opening heart is the ordinary and extraordinary. Make sure people understand that you've walked through that, but you've gone somewhere that they want to go, because now that's going to open up the conversation with them beginning to ask you questions. And the third and final thing that you want to do just in this opening heart, I'm not even talking about the head, the hands, the heart. I just wanted to bring you one nugget around the opening heart. One nugget around the opening heart. The last thing that you want to do in these times is do a little digging and ask yourself, what is my why right now? What is my why? What is my why? Like, what is my why? And here's the criticalness to this. You want other people to find themselves in your why. And so my why is that I want to help our community get on 1,000,000 stages by 2027 to share their messages and their stories with the world. And now I've even shifted a little bit to say, I want to help our community get on 1,000,000 stages by 2027. And the number one stages that they're going to get on is our virtual and digital stages, because there is an abundance of them that they can do straight from their own home. And here's what happens is, if you can have an empathetic and compassionate why that you can have in conversations with people, they will find themselves in your why. If they find themselves in your why, they start asking the question, how do I work with you? How can you help me? What can we do? I need help. I want to be that extraordinary. They're not going to use the word extraordinary, but I want to move from that ordinary position you were in to go into the extraordinary. And I want to be one of those people in your why. That's the third thing that you want to do in this opening heart. When you begin to do those three things, the game shifts. The game shifts. People feel connected to. They feel out of isolation. They don't feel depressed. They don't feel anxious. They feel connected. They feel heard. They feel loved. And they've now come in and said, tell me more. I want to close with this story before I bring Eric back up. I told you that network marketing got me through college after a really hard hardship. But what I didn't tell you is that I played collegiate tennis, and my grandmother went and worked another job just to help get me through college because my parents didn't have the money to help me with college. My grandmother went and worked another job. I got a small little college scholarship. I got a little bit of a Pell Grant, and that's how I got through college. And I was playing collegiate tennis. And one day I'm going out to my car to go and drive to tennis practice. All my rackets are in there. My car's in the parking lot of my college campus, Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas. And I go and I find and look for my car, and I can't find my car. Well, what I come to find out is that my car had been repossessed. And it was the gift that my dad had given to me, but my dad wasn't able to afford the payments, and he didn't tell me that. My rackets were gone. My car was gone. I was in tears. I didn't know how I was going to make it now. Like, I had no transportation, no tennis rackets. I was already struggling to be on that college. I had decided to go last minute because I had some friends really encourage me to do that. And then I ran into a lady in my church. And a lady in my church didn't get cheesy with me. A lady in my church didn't shortcut things or try to take a shortcut. A lady in my church didn't cut to the chase or lead with money. A lady in my church was compassionate, and she heard me. She actually gave me some money to be able to get food. And she supported me just helped me. Her and her family, her family became like an extension of my family. And they loved me. They didn't play the short game. And then one day she just told me about this incredible thing that she was a part of. And it was a no-brainer for me to ask her, tell me more about that. Because as Les Brown would say, I was hungry. And that was the very first network marketing company that I ever got in. And I can remember it. I can remember the second one and the third one. And I can remember what network marketing did to get me through college because of someone not being cheesy, someone not cutting to the chase, someone not talking about all of the cash stuff that I could get, but someone leading with compassion. You lead with compassion, industry. You lead with compassion. All of you walk around the world as you communicate that heart and you communicate to their heart. What you will begin to see is you will begin to see more distributors, more customers, more volume, more impact, and you will be responsible, a little piece of helping restore the world's economy that's hurting right now. But it's industries like this that are going to change that. So Eric, that's what I would say to everybody today, my man. I think it's an absolute no-brainer what they put out there, what you put out to the folks today. I'm not even in the industry, but I'm going to go learn some skills and some skill sets from you. And man, I appreciate you having me in front of everybody today.
Well, it's my great pleasure. Thanks for bringing value.